Call this meeting to order of the Hoyt Rural Fire District Number 3. The approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Everybody's had a chance.
The only correction is I put conversion instead of conversation down at the bottom. I will correct that.
Where is it?
They're down there, Damon Puttnam had a conversation, not
Conversation,
conversion.
not a conversion.
Gotcha.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report.
All right, well, I had this on top. First of all, I just want to let you guys know I did send off for the forestry grant reimbursement. That letter went out 28th of September, so I imagine we'll probably see that check maybe the end of October. Should definitely have it by the end of November. So it'll take a while to get it back. But anyway, that letter has been sent, so those funds should be on their way hopefully next month. All right, general fund budget, year-to-date expenses, $118,306.42. Leaving a budget balance of $14,660.58. Cash balance of the general fund is $5,322.74. First responder fund budget, year-to-date expenses, $36,977.06. Cash balance of $8,980.31. Sorry, budget balance is $9,125.94. The cash balance of $8,980.31. General fund equipment reserve is at $62,283.89. First responder equipment reserve is at $52,547.28. General fund equipment reserve CD is at $101,963.35. Total of all accounts is $231,097.57. There was a transfer of $20,000 from the equipment fund reserve to take care of the bill for the CPR machine from Zoll. Can't think of anything else. It's all pretty normal unless you guys see something you got a question on.
Has Maeda reimbursed the?
Oh, yes, we do have that check. It came back. Meta's reimbursed us for their half. There's also a Visa bill going around. There's a charge there on the Visa for $83 that the Fire Association reimbursed us for already. And we also just got some about $9,000 from the Jackson County Treasurer for tax disbursement for the general fund and first responder fund. You'll see that all in next month's bill, which it didn't come in time to get in September. So, which I have more information on that if you guys want to see the projected balances to the end of the year. Well, let's do that later. Let's finish this up first. Anybody have any questions on the old bill or the financial statement?
I'll make a motion, we accept the financial report.
I'll second.
Report. Motion been made and seconded for the treasurer's report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, so projected balance, so go back to what I was telling, yes, we got taxes. It came in at about $9,000 between the two funds. By my calculation, there's still about $5,500, $5,600 left to be dispersed to us from the county by the end of the year. Usually that comes in towards the end of November, first part of December. All right, so I told you forestry grant reimbursement, that letter has been sent off, so we should see that. Meta has paid us for their half of the fire prevention, $3,075 should be for the forestry grant. Meta Fire's already paid us for their half of the fire prevention week supplies. And then, like I said, the $83 charge on the Visa that Hoyt fire association can already reimburse us for. Oh, I got it right here now. That was for tablecloths for the pancake feed. All right, so right now, I guess, we're still expecting the first responder stipend that we pay out to be around $6,100. The hams, $300. Mowing and janitorial. Jeff said he's probably done mowing for the year or so. That's down to about $90 now for that. The security system that we already paid the equipment for, there's probably going to be about another $2,500 charge for the labor install once that's done for that. Evergy still probably going to be about $600. Giant $675 in the end of the year, and LRS trash service $133.06. I guess the other thing I don't have on this is the lights. Do we know how much that was going to be to put the lights on the new one?
No, I do not. It's been long enough now, I don't remember what he told me.
Okay, that's one big thing I just realized I didn't have on here.
That's all you're lacking, right?
Yep.
Lights.
And it goes this week.
Transfer. It goes when?
This week.
Okay.
Okay, so with all the funds and everything came in as of today, so that report was as September 30th, but as of today, we have a cash balance in the general fund of $11,368.35, a first responder fund of $10,099.57. And I'm projecting this to be somewhere around the 11,000 mark to be able to and that our 25% transfer will take care of that to get us down to where we've expended all the budget. The only big thing is going to be the lights. That'll be a big one that comes out.
Did we ever get the bill from Kansas City on that truck?
Nope.
We got that day too, don't we? Or have you got it included?
Who's that?
From Conrad, I've never.
Oh, I haven't seen anything from Conrad for a while. So yeah, I guess we still have
Yeah,
that
we
as
still have
well.
that bill yet to pay.
You know, how much?
Anybody remember how much that one was?
I can't
They
remember.
never told me, they never
Oh,
told
they
me.
never told me. Okay, so that would be another big one that would be coming in. Yeah. That's about where I got us at right now. Got any questions on that? Or anything else anybody can remember that maybe I've forgotten? Might be coming in.
Which one?
Anything else I may have forgotten?
No, I can't think of anything else.
The fuel came in that I was projecting, that's already pending and paid, that's in the bills. That was a big one I know. I guess that's all I got on that.
Jim?
And the only other thing I got then is Finley Automotive. Do you have a list of people you want to authorize on this, or how do you want me to do that?
I'll call down and talk to him.
You just want me to send this off to them and you'll talk
Yeah,
to
I'll
them?
call Paul and talk to
All right,
him.
what's it for?
It's
Authorize you.
authorized users, they're updating their accounts and stuff.
Oh.
They want to do sales tax exempt form and wanted new information on who is, just to update their account record on it. So I'll mail this off then, and I'll let you talk to them, Jeremy, then, about who's authorized to use it. Okay, that's all I got. Unless anybody has any questions for me.
Okay, got visitors' comments. First one I got is Greg from the Rural Water District. Come tonight, he's got.
Won't take up too much time tonight. I'm Greg with the Rural Water District. I'm the manager there. We're getting ready to do a new line upgrade from S Road out here on 110th, S and 110, to U4, which would be the picket fence out there. We're going to put 8-inch for the first mile, 6-inch for the next mile and a half. We're wondering if you guys would be interested in fire hydrants out there in that area. Possibly at T, U4, somewhere in that area, or both. It's cheaper to do it as we're doing the construction, obviously. Rough estimate on a fire hydrant right now is $2,500 to $3,000. It also includes a valve that we have to have to shut the fire hydrant off, and a restraining joint in there. Valve's about $800, $150 for the restraining joint, some concrete, labor for Earhart's excavating to do the work and everything else. So So probably around $5,000 per fire hydrant, roughly.
Jeremy, what are you thinking?
Well,
That would be up to fire
Don't,
department.
I thought there was one out there somewhere on U4.
no, there's nothing out there past about 100 yards east of S Road.
S
Last
Road?
hydrant on that line.
We don't have big enough lines out there right now to provide.
Is that the
fire
3-inch line you're talking about, what he's just talking about?
What's that?
Right there, where'd you say, Jeremy?
There's a hydrant just east of S Road on 110, but it's only a 400 gallon per minute hydrant, if that.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
the
one,
one, we also talked about replacing that one as we're doing the work possibly also.
because that'll be an 8-inch line there. And then how far was you going with the 8-inch?
First mile from S to T.
S to T, and then you'll drop to a 6.
We'll drop from the 8 to the 6 for the next mile and a half. And that hooks into a 6-inch that goes all the way out to Sherman Road, I believe it is, to the county line.
I mean, it would be dramatically beneficial to anybody on 110, especially by the lake with the amount of housing and population that is there.
Right.
But it would also be beneficial to us at 110 and U4 also, because that far out, we're shoveling water a long ways anyway to go.
Well, there's no straight shot
So there would at least be two that would be beneficial to us.
Is there anything on the other side of the lake? That direction coming out of Shelby
Closest you
County?
have is the fire, or the water tower over here at 102nd. And that just was replaced, there's a brand new hydrant out there now.
I think two would be very beneficial to us.
Would the water
Well, I was
department be
thinking-
willing to cost share on with Earhart?
They probably would cost share on. We're gonna have to put in a flush hydrant there anyway, at the corners. So if we convert those flush hydrants to fire hydrants, it's not, I'd have to verify with my
If
board
we paid
members.
for the hydrants and you paid the labor, would that be a doable
And
thing?
and the valve, maybe. We might be able to do something like that. If Water District paid for the valve, the restraining joint, you guys paid for the fire hydrant. And we also paid for the labor.
So you'd be looking roughly 5,000, 5,100 total for the two hydrants for our cost, if they agreed to do the labor. Okay.
Well, do you want two, or do you want to replace that one on S Road up here? That small one?
Well, you're not replacing that, you're not planning on replacing that one anyways, right?
Well,
We're
they're
gonna be
going
doing
through
work
there.
right there at that time, so we might as well, if we wanted to
Because
replace
it's
it.
too small a line anyway, it's on,
Yeah.
what'd
It's
you
on
say,
a
a
3-inch.
3-inch line?
Yeah.
How far is that out, Jeremy?
It's only 100 yards.
Right on the
out
outside of the city limits.
I mean, it's right out of the city.
I mean, would it be, I guess.
Let me ask you
Would it
this,
be
though.
beneficial to have them farther down?
No, now that we have this hydrant here at the corner of by the school, is that one, is there a benefit to that one with this one? Because this one's the school, what is it, 2 years now that we've had it,
Yes.
roughly? So those are two relatively close.
So the question is, where would you want them at?
And we could work on that at
A later date or
a later
something.
Oh,
date.
well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, we're a ways out from this project.
You're still in the planning process.
Yes, so,
I'd
and
say,
this all depends on me acquiring easements from S Road all the way out there too, so, to install a new water line, so that could take a little while.
Okay.
well, I would certainly be in favor of doing it, especially the cost share, the labor of doing it. We'd be silly not to put 3 in if we decide that the third one,
Replace that one and then the two
then
additional.
2 and if, with this hydrant here, I'm not sure, I mean, you have to say it, but if we need them both, since when that hydrant was put in, we didn't have the one right here on the edge of the school, so.
So
And that's a big
if
one.
we leave that one at the school and you put two more on East Footer, would you just do away with that one, or no?
It could stay there.
Just for whatever?
Because how beneficial is that one for you? You said it was only 400 gallon.
Yeah, the only time we ever used it is periodically we fill off of it, fill tankers off grass fire, stuff like that, so we're not pulling water off the city system. But now with that.
But now
new
with that
hydrant
other one,
being
you
on the
can-
county system, it's not, it's
Be
not
about
really
as
a
quick,
big
just
deal.
slip down there and
That
like,
hydrant's probably a 1976. It's been in there a long time.
But it would be, you know, a hydrant off at T2 would pretty much serve everything at the lake.
Yeah.
And then it'd definitely be beneficial to have one out there.
the corner, go up to
Would
the
it be
corner.
accessible on U4 Road or off of 110? Where would it set out in that general vicinity?
It'll sit right there on the corner, probably be right on the, let's see, the southwest corner of 110th and U4,
Before.
providing the landowner will
Agree.
agree to have the fire hydrant there.
I don't think anybody would deny that.
No. I would say we would, I mean,
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if we make a motion at this point, but until we get a nailed down cost, what they're willing to do, but I'd say we're in favor of it, certainly.
And if you're willing to cost share, then we're definitely would be
Yeah.
for something like that, so.
You got an advantage, we have a ex-fireman on our board over here, so he's pushing for it, so.
So, yes, we'd be for it.
Okay, I'll take that back to my board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Greg. Nick, Bailey.
Yep. If you don't mind, I'm gonna use my notes. I've got some lists and things, details. Some of you already know me. For those of you who don't, I'm Leonard Allen. I am a resident of Hoyt, and I've served on the city council for about 8 years. I was asked to attend the August Fire Board meeting as an observer and to help, if needed, to work with the board and the members of the public, if needed, to help keep the meeting on track. That meeting did get a little heated, as some of you might remember, but everyone seemed to conduct themselves well, and I wasn't needed to assist with the meeting. But from my experience, I saw some things in how the meeting was conducted and heard some answers from the board members that concerned me. However, I wasn't there to commit or comment, only to assist if needed. At the September meeting, I attended, and as a concerned citizen, and I did comment. Those of you who do know me are aware that I tend to be brutally honest with my comments, and what I had to say that night reflected that. After that meeting, there was even more that concerned me about how this board operates, and I began digging. And I have a bit more to say. Please keep in mind, I don't intend any of this to be taken personally by any of the members. I only want to try and put things right and be sure we all work under the same set of rules when we work for the public interest. Mr. Puttnam and Mr. Henry, how long have you served on this board?
9 years I have.
I've
9?
been from 2010, I think, 2010 or 11, somewhere in there.
So about a decade for each of
Pretty
you.
close, yeah.
Okay. In that time, what have you done to educate yourselves on how a public board is required to operate?
Just personal experience.
Okay. Do you understand what constitutes a public meeting as described by the Kansas Open Meeting Act?
I've read the Open Record Act.
The Open Meeting Act?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know what's required to go into an executive session as a public board?
Sure.
Okay, well, for those who are unaware, I will explain. First of all, you all agree that this is a public board, correct? Okay. In order for any public entity to go into an executive session, first the public body must be in an open session before going into an executive session. Then a motion must be made and seconded. The motion must contain statement of justification for the closure, subjects to be discussed, and the time and place the open meeting will resume. The complete motions shall then be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and shall be maintained as a part of the permanent records of the public body or agency. Discussion during the closed executive meeting shall be limited to those subjects that are stated in the original motion. Since we all agree that this is a public board subject to COMA, I would like some clarifications on a few things. Your own minutes show 8 examples of COMA violations. On March 8, 2023, the board went into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss non-personnel issues. This is not a legitimate reason for an executive session. Also, who moved in to go into executive, who seconded, and was there a vote? April 5, 2023. Board went into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss non-personnel issue. Once again, not a legitimate reason. Same things were not mentioned. August 31st, your special meeting. Announced that no fire department business will be discussed and then shows that they were in executive session for 2 hours. Was it ever announced when the public portion of the meeting would resume? Were there other topics discussed? September 6th, no motion was made to approve the minutes from the special meeting on August 31st. February 2nd, board went into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss non-personnel issue. Once again, not legitimate. On that same night, the board and Chief Kester went into executive session for 50 minutes to discuss non-personnel issue. Same thing. October 5, board went into executive session by Mike Henry at 7:20 to 7:30 to discuss non-personnel issue. November 2nd, board went into executive session by Mike Henry, 7:32 to 7:43 to discuss non-personnel issue. Once again, not legitimate. April 7th at 7:20, went into executive session for 10 minutes to talk about non-personnel matter. Same thing. Are you aware that if prosecuted, potential penalties for a coma violation could be a maximum fine of up to $500 per violation per member violating, as well as legal fees to defend yourselves and the legal fees of a private individual if they were to take civil action on their own against the board? In many of these examples from the board's minutes, there's no record of a motion, a second, a vote, a justification, a subject, nor a time and place that the meeting will resume. Furthermore, KSA 754319, the statute enumerating the 15 legal justifications for an executive session, does not list non-personnel matters as an acceptable justification for those sessions. Is it likely that these illegal meetings were being used to discuss the financial gift being left to the fire department, which the fire board has yet to mention in an open meeting? This makes me wonder why the board is trying to actively hide this information from the public. This action reeks of malfeasance. On the topic of open meetings, do the chairman and the secretary understand when a meeting is taking place? I ask because I found that Chairman Henry in the past has sent out text messages from his personal phone to the entire board asking them to approve expenditures or make decisions as a board. Each and every time this was done, it was a coma violation. Secretary Puttnam, in response to my FOIA request, included every member of the board on his response to me. By including each member of the board, he committed a coma violation. I've also found that the secretary habitually emails the entire board asking them to comment on different items that are board business. Those texts and emails are all subject to KORA standards and should not be deleted. Regarding the special meeting held on August 31st, the unofficial minutes provided show that the motion was to go into executive session, was motioned and seconded for personnel business as is proper. However, no announcement was made as to when the group would come out of executive session. It simply shows that the session lasted from 7:02 until 9 p.m. I think we all know that the personnel issue being discussed was whether to accept the resignation of Chief Kester or not. I don't find it reasonable that something of that nature could take 2 hours to discuss. From what I've been able to surmise, this was a browbeating session to bully board members into following in line and getting into the story straight for the regular meeting. That story would have included telling the public that 3 board members had conversations with Chief Kester about his offered resignation. After speaking with Dr. Kester, he informed me that one member of the board left a voicemail on his office phone and he'd run into them in public, but no discussion of the topic of the resignation was had. He said that the supposed conversation with Damon Puttnam concerning his resignation never happened. Secretary Puttnam has also shown a lack of care in how he handles the board's public documents. When I provided my Freedom of Information request for the minutes going back to 2015, he provided the minutes going back until 2021 because, in his words, I have minutes for 23, 22, 21 in my possession right now, and you can view those or copy them anytime. The other years of the minutes would cause an unreasonable burden to me and the other board members as we have no employee and staff to get these records out of storage. According to Kansas Statute 45401, public policy concerning government records, the legislature declares that state and local government records with their enduring value should be stored in conditions which are not averse to their permanent preservation and should be properly arranged so that the appropriate public access to such records is possible. With this in mind, I'm concerned at how the board's documents are being kept. They should not be in Mr. Puttnam's sole personal possession. If something were to happen to Mr. Puttnam, his office were destroyed by a natural disaster or a fire, those public records would be irrevocably lost. Having the sole copies of these public documents in his business office seems to be a violation of 45401. My last point is that during the August 2 meeting, the minutes read that the board's response to a question about equipment is, equipment has not been denied when brought before the board. There was much back and forth over this topic. The sad and most egregious example as being untrue relates to the July 27, 2016 accident on Highway 75 where the tire blew out, causing a fatality. According to the Kansas Highway Patrol accident reports, new tires were requested and denied. That report does read, he knew the front tires were getting old and asked the fire board about getting new tires on the front for vehicle 1. He said that the fire board decided not to get new tires on the front of the truck as they still looked in good shape. Had I been the victim's family, I would have sued the fire board for wrongful death as soon as I saw the report. By taking all of this information into consideration, I believe that any reasonable person would see that it constitutes a lack of leadership from the chairman and the secretary. Not only have they continually violated open meeting laws, those discovered and those yet to be discovered, but their actions could have cost the taxpayers considerable amounts of money in fines, legal fees, and lawsuits. At this time, I would respectfully request that the chairman and secretary take responsibility for their actions or lack thereof and resign their positions immediately. If they choose not to do so, I encourage every citizen living in Rural Fire District 3 to sign the petition I have here asking the Jackson County Commissioners to remove them from their positions or not renew their appointments at the end of the year for incompetence and malfeasance.
Any other comments?
Chief?
Discussed it back and forth on several occasions. I did reach out to Hayes on replacing the brush truck. I did get current pricing from where we were at this time last year, about $20,000 higher than what we were before. We're looking at about $165,000 to replace that truck with an identical unit to the truck we have now,
Which truck is that?
which is 162. No, 160. It will be identical to 160.
162 is the one you're replacing, right?
Correct.
That we're talking about replacing.
That is correct.
What'd you say, 165?
Somewhere around 165,000, depending on what changes between now and then. Because
Is that us furnishing the truck? or
that is
them?
us furnishing the
That's
chassis
us furnishing the chassis,
from
Like we
Foster.
did the last one.
like we did the last one. So that's, the 165 is
The
what?
truck and the chassis and the equipment.
Okay.
That's total cost.
But we would have to furnish, so,
We'd have to buy the chassis and
so then whatever the chassis is,
the chassis is $51,400 in the equipment.
is that through Foster's or
That
is
is
that?
through
a different-
Foster's.
Okay, got you.
And the truck part of it was quoted at $106,398.
Did they indicate how backed up they are?
We would not see the truck until probably fall of next year,
That's once they get it.
once they get it. The truck is, best he could say is a minimum of 90 days to however long it takes to get the
So-
chassis, depending on,
We commit to the build date, they can start ordering the parts, they gotta have the chassis up there.
they won't touch it until they have the chassis. So, the truck, we would not see the chassis until after the first year, no matter what we do.
Right.
Because depending on what the auto union does, whether or not they strike that, they take it out even farther than what we already are looking at. But at minimum, we're looking at the first of the year,
1st of June.
the first of this coming year,
January.
1st of January,
Now, to keep these
Just to get the
prices
truck.
in the past,
to get the chassis, yes.
in the past, wasn't it like a $500 to hold the price on that?
I believe that's what the last thing was. We put a $500 deposit on the truck, and they held the VIN number. So it locked the price in on the chassis.
Yes.
Once I sign that and send it back to them, it will, should be fairly comparable to what that quote is, unless something dramatic changes between now and then with the cost of the components.
No, just,
And is this the only bid that you've received, or is this the only ones that make brush fire trucks?
I am very happy with how that truck is put together. I like how it's set up. I really don't want to go with anybody else because I want to keep uniformity. No offense towards anybody else that builds brush trucks. Hayes has treated us very, very well. I'm very happy with their product.
Is there any kind of value to the equipment on that truck, such as when you go to sell it?
That I do not know.
No, I don't remember what we got for that other one. It's pretty good money, but it went out to Western Kansas. We sold it on Purple Way and it went out to Western Kansas. The guy was gonna use it for like burning pastures and stuff like that.
So you'll leave,
I don't
when
remember
you
what
sell
all
that
that.
truck, it stays intact the way it sits. You just strip our name off the side of the door and it goes
Correct.
intact.
That's what we have done in the past.
Right, okay.
Well, because part of that won't match to the other two, right?
Correct.
So all of them will be equipped the same equipment on everything. Okay.
I thought you said you got a bid on.
I did get
Dodge,
a bid,
too,
I did get a
but
bid
it was
for a
small.
Ram, but it was $7,000 more for a Ram chassis than the
Oh,
Ford.
you do, okay.
And I personally would rather have the Ford because they are identical.
Good. Are those 1 ton or ton and a half?
They're
1 ton.
1 ton.
350.
Dual wheel or single wheel?
Dual. And that is a gas engine, you know?
Is that the specs you got there, Neil?
Yeah.
Chassis.
This is part of it. Oh, this is the Dodge.
This is the one we just did.
No, that's the second quote for the Dodge that he was talking about.
Oh.
That's however much more it is now. I don't remember.
Any advantage of the Dodge versus the Ford, or the Ford versus the Dodge?
Other than $6,700 in difference.
Yeah.
Personally, for the use with what we have, I would prefer to stay with the Ford because again, they are exactly the same as the other trucks. Getting out of one into another, is a little more user friendly.
Well, you
So,
were also talking
here's the-
about
with the bid.
filters and all that kind of stuff, that one will fit all,
Correct.
things that you don't have to buy in bulk.
So most likely, all that would require, probably out of this year's budget, would be the $500 to hold the VIN,
Correct.
and the balance of that would be due once the truck arrives.
Correct.
So that would most definitely be in January. Okay.
No, just look
What
at-
year, what year is that truck?
I believe it's a 99. It's either a 99 or a 2000.
With the last first stuff we had.
And all the, and there's nothing on that truck that you guys take off, like.
99.
99.
162 is one, is 1999. I would, because who knows what it is.
I would make a motion that we go ahead and put the deposit down on the $500 deposit down on the chassis and go ahead and get it rolling.
through Foster's.
Yes, through Foster Ford.
I'll second it.
Andrew.
Oh, Andy already did, that's fine.
Motion been made and seconded to go ahead and put the money down and order the truck from Foster Ford, the brush truck, the F-350. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I also reached out to our gear vendor and discussed structural firefighting gear with him, and if there was any current prospects to our Shawnee County gear agreement that we have been fortunate enough to piggyback onto, and at this point, there is no agreement with Shawnee County on cost sharing. So with that being said, I understand we're already,
Do we have a set on order or some
we
on
have
order
3
right
sets
now?
on order. I need 4 more sets of gear to put everybody I have in compliance.
If we do that before the first of the year, that we stay with the Shawnee
I
County?
have to have the order placed and sized by November 1st to fall under Shawnee County's contract. The contract terminates the 15th of November. So we're looking at about $8,700 for 4 sets of gear. If we wait till after the first of the year and hope that they're looking at minimum of 40% increase.
8,700 times 4, correct?
8,700 total.
Total, okay. Give me a heart attack there for a
You're
second.
looking about, if it takes a 40% jump, you're looking at about additional $3,500 on 4 sets of gear. 4 sets of gear would allow me to skip a minimum of 2 years without buying any gear.
Is that boots and everything, or is that just coat
Coats
pants?
and pants.
Okay. Boots is all good?
We were good on boots. At some point in time, we're gonna have to get into some new helmets, but they're relatively inexpensive. So they're,
We approve that tonight. Can you get all the measurements you need in there by the first?
yes, because he will be back up this way, the end of this
As
month.
long as we got them ordered before then.
It's gotta be ordered before November 1st.
Okay.
But
When
we should
was the
fall
projected,
itself.
when's the projected delivery on those?
Yeah.
Those pretty fast
Be on
turnaround?
the first of the year,
Oh, okay.
but they make you pay up
Up
front.
front,
Sure.
yeah.
Of course they do. We're
Well,
bringing some money up front.
It's custom gear, so
Oh,
it's tailored
Nobody else
to
can
each
get it.
person.
Interstate.
So that's why they want money up front. Every gear vendor now is doing that since COVID.
Well, with the
Yeah, we'll
difference in
make more
cost,
stuff.
and you need 4 sets of gear, 4 more sets of gear, then I make a motion that we accept the $8,700 bid to who?
It'd be first due,
First due?
yes.
Second,
motion been made and seconded on the, getting the gear ordered
Gear.
before the first of November.
Before
So you're gonna go
November.
ahead and get it sized and go right on with the order?
Correct.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded on the ordering of the 4 more sets of gear. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next week is fire prevention week, so there's gonna be a slew of kids in and out of the station for 4 days. So thankfully, Jeff and everybody else has jumped together and put everything together for it. So we were ready for that. The following week, Conrad is coming the 17th to pump test the 3 big trucks. So we'll see how that goes.
What days are fire prevention week?
It'd be the 9th or the 10th through the 13th.
Does Mayetta come down and help with
That's
that?
correct, right, Jeff?
Yes.
Does Mieta come down and help shuttle kids and corral them?
They
Or
have in the past, but the last couple of years, there's been personnel, short on personnel. You gotta have people that cover the run calls. So it's been pretty much us. Every once in a while, try to send people down, but if they're running a 3-man crew, they're not gonna send anybody down.
The teachers generally walk the classes down from the school, and then they usually get ride back on a fire truck or a couple of fire trucks.
so the staff, the school also?
Yeah, teachers bring their classes down with them,
Okay.
so, and then they usually get a ride back to the school on a fire truck. Kind of makes the kids stay as far as riding on a fire truck.
Oh, there-
The only other thing I have
12,500.
is the 13th, I have a meeting with Jackson County EMS to discuss our protocols. Because they want
October?
October 13th, they want to meet with me about our protocols. Because apparently they don't have a user agreement with us that they can bond.
Okay.
Is that an evening or day?
It's at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Who's that with,
Brent Jay.
oh,
Jackson
yeah.
County.
Okay.
What does that entail?
Your guess is mine.
Oh,
Have we had
They
an
own the
agreement
ambulance
with them?
service, so.
I was just wondering why they,
So is there, well, I guess you won't be able to answer that. The other protocols don't line up with the 911?
There is a lot there that does not make sense. As far as I know, and I can be corrected if I'm out of line, the sheriff's office does not have an EMD agreement with anybody. So they're, as far as I know, they're not providing EMD. So that was the last I did.
Karen, would you repeat that?
To my knowledge, the sheriff's office is not providing any emergency medical dispatching. So, last I knew, they did not have a medical director, they did not have anything lined out for EMD, as my knowledge. I could be wrong. If you know something different, so, and that's been that way for years. So we've ran under Jackson County's protocols for many years, under their EMS protocols, so I'm not really sure what they do.
So who dispatches calls that come in on your 911?
The sheriff's office.
Just to clarify, you're saying they don't have a written agreement, is that what?
Correct. That I know of. Now,
That
that's,
they can find or that you know of, they're still dispatching calls.
yes,
They
they're just
don't
not
have a-
providing medical instructions during the dispatch.
Right. They will page out first responders for Jackson County EMS, but their dispatchers don't provide any extra to that. Is that what you're saying, Jeremy?
Yes.
I have a question. Where I live, when I call 911, and I know this for a fact, I get Topeka. Is there some reason I don't get Jackson County?
Landline or cell phone.
So,
It's hitting the nearest cell tower, which is probably in Shawnee County. And then the delay from Shawnee County to Jackson County is,
exactly, and there's quite a
yeah,
delay.
but I don't have a solution for you there.
I made a solution. I have the sheriff's number in my phone.
181, is it done yet?
No, it goes this week, yeah, it goes out to Meriden this week. It got decals.
It's got the details.
Still lights need to be put on since, like you said,
It's lights, put the lights on
That's all I've got.
you want to know what we got for the last truck back from Purple Wave, we got 12,500 for the last brush truck, is what it sold for on Purple Wave. That was I got that check February 23 of 21, so.
That was strictly
So-
for that truck.
Yep. Sailboat brush truck, $12,500, silver bullet.
I don't know if we had more stuff on there than just that.
No, it was just the.
That
truck.
was just the truck. That other time we had like 2 or 3 items on.
I think we had tires that old tires that we sold at that point.
We
did
sold,
that
one time we
maybe
sold some tires
away.
and I don't remember what else. We put this truck on there when the other one's in service. Okay,
So you need to give you a check then for 500?
I'll go and talk to him and see what he wants.
Okay, just let me know.
okay, any old business?
I have a couple, you know,
Go ahead.
you and I, all right, this is going to you, Mike. I guess I have the issue because we accepted Ed's resignation, and I figured, since you're the chairperson, that you would have probably called him to notify him to say, hey, the board has accepted your resignation. As of this point, I don't think anybody has told him, except the responsibility ended up falling on Jeremy.
Yes, I heard that. And I do apologize for that because I don't remember, I mean, I know what we did and I should have, and I didn't.
Well, I mean, I didn't think that that would have to be something that had to be talked about.
Well-
I just figured that was kind of your responsibility to kind of do in the position that you're in. But then I did kind of hear you made a phone call. Your first phone call that you made was to the sheriff's department?
He wanted me to call him. Told me.
Okay,
I talked to him earlier in the day.
okay, and, well, that's my question in my head is why was the sheriff's department so much more important to call than Ed?
I don't know. I
Well,
can't tell you. I mean, I don't know. I say, I apologize for it, but I don't know. Oh, that's I do.
well, like I said, when I found that out, it's kind of upsetting to me. And I know you have some things too.
Yeah. My thing is, as far as I know, you and I are the only ones that approached Ed and told him thank you for his service. I think everybody on this board should have acknowledged that he has put in 30-plus years on this department, whether it's a firefighter, a chief, a lieutenant, whatever. I think it doesn't seem right to me that we didn't all acknowledge the dedication he had to this department. And that was one of my issues. The other one is when we had our last executive meeting where we basically accepted Ed's resignation, walking out of the, I'm emotional, and I was told that after the meeting was over, we're walking out, I looked at Jeremy and I said, hey, I said, I've been told that maybe I shouldn't be on the board because I can't separate my emotions from, you know, being a board member. That is what a board member is to me. I care about the firefighters. They're my number one. Yes, the money is important, but when I said that, it was like, Damon was like, you know, if you want to. Mike's response was, well, don't do it this month, do it next month. And the only people that said anything was Julie asked me, please don't resign. Jeremy said the same thing, and when Ed heard it, Ed personally called me and said, do not do that. And I don't intend to, I tend to stay on this board so that I can give the guys the best that they can have. I believe being a board member is not all just about financial things. These guys need a lot of support. Whether it's providing, you know, making sure they have food. I'm usually pretty good about coming down here and saying, hey, you guys got something to eat. Or being a fundraiser. I know Julie has, I don't know who else, but, you know, they can always use the extra help. And after there's been a long day, hey, you guys, I've come down here and I've freaking washed more trucks, you know, so they can come in here and get a sandwich. And sometimes if there's a bad call, just listen. that's all I need is somebody to listen to. You don't have to fix it. You know, it's just come down here and listen and be here if they want to talk. And
Well, my
that's
thing
my
is,
thing. I mean, I just feel like sometimes it's the girls against the boys, and that's my feeling. I'm not speaking for Julie. And
well, I like you being on the board because there's part of me that says she's been there, she's done that. Her opinion to me is very valuable because she has been there. She has an understanding of what the need is for, if it's the equipment, I mean, I know we do too, but she has more of a deeper understanding of what needs to happen and what needs to play out for these guys because she's been in those shoes. I know I haven't been in those shoes. I can have an understanding of it, but I didn't.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. The conversation that Angie and I had is that she is not for her to quit the fire department, is that now you've got to kind of make the transition. We want to be both. We
there's
want
not a
to be
transition.
both.
It's one for me.
It's a board member, it's a board member, you're on the board now, and so now you're dealing with the budget of the thing. I mean, we have former firefighter, we have a fire chief sitting on it telling us what they need.
Plus you have
What
a
they
30-plus-year former firefighter, EMT, retired RN sitting at the end
And
of the
so
table across
when we add another one to it, that just makes it that much better. But I did at one time, because Angie came to me of a thing that we discussed in executive session, and then after the meeting, I said, why are we keeping this a secret? And it said, well, because we don't have it yet. Plus, and she goes, well, I just don't understand why we can't tell anybody. I said, well, you can't tell anybody what we don't have, you know. And basically, that was talking about the funds that we may be receiving from the estate. And Angie said, well, I don't know if I can do that.
It's like, I don't know what the big secret was. That's
So-
my thing. It's like, we may get it, we may not. Why should they not know about it? It may
They
be
already
something
know
we get.
about
They
it.
knew
Right.
anyway. It was out in the
Well,
community.
but how did they find out about it?
It was
You
out
know,
in the community.
you know, who knows?
It's out there, but have we heard anything on it?
It's ready to go to, the taxes were settled and it's going to hearing. I haven't seen the date yet, but she'll go to hearing to close the estate. And when that happens, then the funds will be,
Well, we're still looking at probably another 30 to 60 days probably.
I
If
wouldn't
not.
think that long. I would think here sometime in October. It depends on how, I mean, the hearing is just a matter of going in front of the judge
Right.
and saying what she's done, and he puts his stamp on it, and then she's got, the funds are all wherever, and
Well, I presume they're
in an
kind of held
escrow,
in a,
they're in an escrow, I'm assuming.
well,
I don't know
either
whether it's
escrow
like-
or an estate account, one or the other.
Right, and as soon as the hearing is cleared and, the taxes, I'm assuming she was paying, it was only $207 in taxes. That was owed to the state. And then the rest of it is in the fund right now, and when the judge gives her the clearance to go ahead and divide the estate, the cash, then I don't know, whether she'll just send a check, I'm assuming like, get it, I mean, I don't know that.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
That's the last I got on it.
Well, I knew the closing on the land was at the end of August, right?
Yes, on the land, yeah, it closed way before that, so they was ahead of schedule on all that, yeah.
Okay.
That was the last thing, well, and then she sent them all over to, everything over to, the tax collector, sent it all over to her to check and make sure we didn't owe any tax, or that the estate
Right.
didn't owe any tax, and
Right.
they got that, that took about 2 or 3 weeks. And then that's what they got cleared, so that's where she's at, just getting a hearing set up. I'm assuming I'll hear something today, but what it'll be is just a date is when the hearing is. And once the hearing is done, I would imagine.
And I think we'll move forward then.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? on this money, was the money designated to Hoyt Fire Department, Hoyt Fire Board, or who was it designated to? Was
The
it
Hoyt
the
Fire Board.
association?
The same with May ought have got the same thing.
Right?
May ought have got the same thing.
But it was
To the boards,
to
yes.
the boards?
The boards and then Holton Hospital and I don't remember.
Holton, Mayetta,
Hoyt and May out
the
of
hospital.
fire departments and then the hospital and the
Humane Society.
Humane Society.
Humane Society was in there, was, okay.
I think Jeremy had a few things he needed
There you go.
to just say.
Here's it all.
So back to.
Oh, yeah, here, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's, where do you, oh, okay, here we go. Okay, Francis Shufflebarger is a adult niece, and I think some of these just don't give you amounts. Some of these, so like Francis Shufflebarger is a niece, David Shepherd is a neighbor, and Kay Shepherd is a neighbor. Those three there, I think were $10,000 a piece, but I'm not positive on that one. There's a sheet somewhere that shows what there is. And then it's Holton Community Hospital, Heart of Jackson Humane, beneficiary. Hoyt Fire District number 3, beneficiary, and Mayetta Fire District number 1, beneficiary. That's where it all went. So that's, as I say, the top 3, I believe there was an amount in some. I'm not sure on all of them. I know one of them was $10,000. And then the other 4,
That's probably not for us to put out there, is it? Is that public knowledge?
oh, I don't know.
Is that a public document you received?
Well, that's a district
District
court.
court.
a
district
public
district
document.
Court.
And who was it that gave these?
Handed papers to us?
The Bowles estate.
Bowles estate, Verona Bowles. Verona, and he was married to Junior.
Junior Bowles.
Oh, you know what? I tell
That's
you
the
what,
information
it's public
I got.
record. Here's the information we got, if anyone wants to read it. Come on. There you go. Or you can petition district court and get it, I guess. That's all, right there.
I've already seen it.
Okay.
Jeremy?
Okay, yeah.
So kind of back to what Julie said. Yes, I was the one that called Ed and told him of the events of the previous board meeting. But the thing that really infuriated me more than anything is while I'm on the phone with Ed, I get a message from a Holton police officer saying, "Congratulations on your appointment." So my reply back to that was, "What are you talking about? Your appointment in chief." This is within 30 minutes of the board meeting ending. She's married to a Jackson County Sheriff's deputy. Well, Tim had already sent out an email to all of his deputies and all of his dispatchers that Ed was no longer the fire chief. That come from somewhere. It didn't come from me. Really pissed me off because then that's been there's been contention between the sheriff and Ed for years over stuff. And then not moments after his resignation, an email comes out for a communications meeting that we haven't had in 2 years. So we had a communications meeting this month for the first time in 2 years. It's just, it's, to me, it just does not set well that all of this is stacked up the way it has.
Why haven't you had a communication meeting in the last 2 years?
Because the sheriff feels it's not necessary to have them because the same things get complained about time and time again. And the purpose of our communication meeting this month, and I'll paraphrase because Todd was there too, is The sheriff wants the fire departments in the county to write a grant to get an 800 radio site in the county and eliminate our VHF system. He cannot do it because he's not a big enough agency on his own, so he wants the fire departments to all go together and do it, because it will benefit us more than it will the sheriff's office. No, it will benefit us in the long run, and at some point in time, we are going to have to do it. They're gonna keep narrowbanding this down to where we have no choice but to go digital. It's going to happen. But the whole purpose of the communications meeting, and again, correct me if I'm wrong,
That was the gist of it.
is they want us to
2 hours we was there was.
they want us to foot the bill for $1.5 million radio system for Jackson County.
Is it was it for a grant or to pay the bill?
No, he wants us to go together as all of the fire departments within the county and write a grant. The problem with that is one, getting a FEMA grant for that amount of money's gotta be tough one way or another. But the second is it ties every county up in this, every department in this county up to 7 years that they can't write a grant. So you're out to have 7 years where you can't get a grant for structure gear. You have 7 years you can't get a grant for.
That takes us
air
out
packs.
to the
That takes
forestry
us
and all
out.
that stuff too.
The forester grant, I don't know, but any AFG or
Federal.
FEMA funded grant, it pulls you out of, because Soldier got stuck for 7 years on the last time we got a grant for the radio system in 2012.
Approximately, yeah, because they used their chief wrote the grant and used their information on the grant, but it was a countywide grant, so it tied them up for 7 years of eligibility.
That's a long time to be
Yeah.
tied up without being able to ask for any federal assistance for anything. But I know there was, I've been there many times when there was, Ed was never afraid to say what he thought and what his solutions were for the problem, didn't always meet people's agendas, and that's always been a problem with the sheriff. Well, I'm not gonna play that with the sheriff, and I'm gonna be in the same boat. So, but it really is kind of like getting kicked in the teeth by getting text messages from people right after the meeting. And then to find out the sheriff, felt it was important enough to send out a text message, or send out an email to all of his staff that, got a fire chief resign.
Back to that point, when was the sheriff notified of his appointment?
Right after me.
Right after the meeting?
Well, then that brings a question in my head is, has a lot of this stuff been prolonged because there's been so much headbutting between the sheriff's department and Ed and maybe even some of you guys here, that things have been prolonged to get done? And what kind of rings a bell in my head is, when I first came on here, they were having issues with the repeater on the tower. And it took months for that to get taken care of. And that was supposed to be the sheriff's department responsibility to get that done. I can't tell you how many months it was, but we ended up, I can't remember if it was you, Mike, or if it was you, Jeff, that ended up calling up there and talking to them.
I
One
talked
of them,
with,
and then all of a sudden, we were getting it fixed.
well, I don't know the time frame of when they fixed it. I talked with Daryl Chapman at the time, was the
Well, but that's what I'm just saying,
undersheriff.
it seemed like you guys ended up, and the board got involved in it, and then all of a sudden, we were getting it fixed.
Yeah, I mean,
But Ed fought with it
Ed
for
fought
months
the
and
battle.
months.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm done. I know Ed, there was concern, and he's been fighting with it so I went to him to ask what was the process.
But that's my thing is.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Do we
That's answering
have such issues out there like this where you got people that just don't care for another person, but.
That's a question you'd have to
You're
ask Morris.
putting lives on the line and our firefighters can't communicate.
Yeah, that's a question, in my opinion, you'd have to ask Morris his reason, I mean, that system is all his.
Well, but I'm just saying, it's like, has there been such a problem that it boils down to, I don't like you, and
I would hope not.
I like to hope not either. Like I said, that's a communication problem, and the firefighters need to be able to communicate with one another.
But that's the other thing, that radio system is not his. That radio system belongs
To us.
to emergency management.
But isn't it under the county budget though?
It is a line item under the budget, under the 911 fund, that is handled by the sheriff, because the sheriff houses dispatch. So, yeah, so it's still, it is not his.
Overseen by
radio
him.
system. Correct. But that's the problem, is it does not fit into his day-to-day operation.
And do you
for
think that's ever gonna
deputies.
change?
At some point in time, it's gonna have to change. Because we're getting to the point now where it's getting less and less radio coverage every,
I mean, do you think that the sheriff department is not gonna oversee that department
won't
in
happen,
the near future?
won't happen.
Not gonna do
But
the
we
money.
as fire chiefs are powerless to do anything about it.
You were a former county commissioner. Did that discuss, them kind of discussions ever come up at the county commission's meeting when you was a commissioner?
Well, repeaters and different things like that came up in discussion, but there was never any discussion that I can recall in 8 years of turning that back over for management to the local fire department.
Especially because he receives funds for that, right? For the emergency management funds, right?
He receives everybody pays taxes for a 911 on their phone. Everybody does it. He receives the money that's collected from that, plus his county budget to run dispatch.
Pat Cordy used to be, I think she still is, I don't know,
She's still the EM director.
is the emergency management director.
What was the name?
Pat Cordy, Patkkorte.
And that would be the real question about if that could be moved is it under emergency management and the sheriff is managing it, or does that money go from at the budget?
This is not our discussion.
Yeah.
This is not our discussion. So let's move on.
Another question, though, and this is gonna be reflecting on you. I also heard, and here again, I know I hear a lot of things, but I have people in and out of my office. Trust me, for the last 60 days. Even had conversations with the Mayetta Fire Department. What's that been all about?
Talk to Todd Stoffer about this truck,
The
180. Yeah, the pumper, that's 25 years old. So I wanted to find out from the rules on that. Well, and I talked to Todd Stoffer, and he can verify it, he's here, is I asked him about what means the spec, he says, as long as the truck passes a pump test and a DOT inspection, then that truck can stay in service forever.
And I
Okay,
forgot to mention, Steve, and it is on me, that it does affect your fire rating when you go to redo it if you've got equipment that's over the 25-year mark. I did forget to mention that to you.
So, and that was about it of our conversation.
Yeah, that was
now,
about where
isn't
the
there an
conversation went.
agency out there that is saying, okay, yes, you can still have a truck that's over 25 years old, but we have a major accident or incident, and they're coming to you finding out why do you have a truck that's
No, it's DOT inspected every year, and it has a pump test done on it every year to pass. So, I mean, so it's well within its needs, even though it's 25 years old. But it can fix your ISO rating, but still, it is a legal thing to do, according to Todd.
And to the claim of the book is a recommendation.
It's all recommendation, it's not the
What are we
law.
asking Todd?
Right.
Jeremy could have told you
So-
the same thing.
I guess my question.
Well, but he didn't say it last month, when it was brought
Did you
up.
ask him?
So, but his
No.
firefighter is the one that was saying it.
No, what I said was, we have trucks that are close to becoming out of the 25-year date. Right?
And you were assuming, you were assuming that that truck was due to be replaced because it was over 25 years old. So I just made an inquiry to do that. That's over with. That was our conversation.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not say that the pump overheated
Correct. during
Times
pump
two.
testing, or during hose testing. We
during
had
hose
issues with the
testing
pump.
times 2?
But that will be, a definitive answer will be found out on that 13th when they go to pump test that truck.
Right.
Get overheated on a call or
It overheated during
Hose
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 testing.
testing.
nose testing?
So we have discussed this for the last 3 years that I've been part of this, been to these board meetings about replacing that truck because of its age. And it's in our plans, correct?
It's better to replace
Well,
it
that
before we need to
is what I-
have to have it so that he can look.
That's what
for
I
a
thought
truck.
at least.
Right. Yeah,
But-
exactly.
I've had no definitive, yes, this is what's gonna happen, no, this isn't gonna happen, you know, it's been in limbo, we discussed it, but I've never heard, yes, this is actually going to come to fruition at this point in time. You know,
And I don't think we've made that decision either.
Yeah, I know, we can talk about it, but haven't done anything yet.
I have a question. I have a simple question. Since there seems to be a wonder of why he was meeting with the mayor of fire department.
I didn't meet with him, I made a phone call.
Okay, but regardless, did the board request that he do this, or did you do that on his own?
I did that on my own,
And that's,
so that I would become more knowledgeable about this. You sit in my same chair here, right?
I have.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, so that the board knew what you were doing, they should have.
No, I
it
did
should
this
have
for
been-
myself. So I would become more knowledgeable about what is expected from a board member and what should be done.
But why didn't you ask Jeremy? He's our fire chief. Why didn't you ask Jeremy? He would have told you the exact same thing about that truck.
So it wasn't put out there last month when it was brought up.
But you didn't ask him.
But he didn't volunteer. Why did I? So if I ask you whether or not you're a woman, so you're not going to correct me? I mean, you know, it's the same thing.
Amanda didn't ask you either.
I asked.
Okay, but you could
I
have
asked.
asked Jeremy.
I asked another fire chief within Jackson County, where Jeremy could have well within his means answered that question for Jeff last month.
There was a
Right.
lot going on last month.
I was gonna say, so that the board.
So I took it upon myself to find out myself. It's just like when you look it up on the
You could have made a
internet
phone call
or look
to
it up on a
Jeremy As
book.
well as you could have made a phone call to Todd.
What makes a difference whether I call Todd or
Because
whether
he's
I
our
call
fire
Jeremy?
chief.
Because he's
Because
our
you're the
fire
fire chief.
You know what, whatever, you know. Yeah, it is whatever. It doesn't matter a hill of beans.
This is where.
Well,
they-
what does it make a hill of beans? Where do I find out the information at?
Because you're a Hoyt Fire Board member.
What does
not
that- what does that
Mayetta Fire
matter?
Board member. Because this is Hoyt Fire we're talking about, not Mayetta Fire.
So I was finding out information about a truck, and
In
you
Hoyt
guys have a
Fire.
problem with that.
In
Whether
Hoyt
I get the
Fire.
information, what if I would have said I looked it up on the internet?
That would have been better than calling it on the fire department when you have a phone
At
right
least
here.
give him a chance. If you didn't like his answer, you know.
I don't know what you guys are looking for.
You to resign.
I was looking for.
Some respect for
You know,
the,
all right, since you guys have brought this up, first off, I want to bring this up. Ed, didn't we have a personal conversation outside your vet hospital?
I'll stand up here and talk about that. We did have a personal conversation.
And did I ask you, do you really want to resign?
Let her
Let me
finish. You need to let Ed speak.
We had a conversation outside of my clinic. And you came into the last meeting and you lied about what we talked about. My conversation was with you. You asked me if I wanted to be the chief. I said I would still be the chief, but I would not step foot in this fire station as long as Mike Henry is still on the board. And that was our conversation.
Okay?
And that's not what you said on tape.
And you said, I said, didn't I ask you, do you really want to resign? And you said, well, it's already done. I already resigned.
No, you
Right in
did
front of
not
your
ask
vet
me that.
hospital.
No, you did not.
Yes, well,
No, you did not.
it's still nor there. You did say you resigned, right? Let's get that
I resigned at
resigned.
Dodge meeting. It was not accepted.
Let's get that
So,
straight.
I'm still the chief.
It was not.
And you came in here and did not tell the entire truth of our conversation in front of the public at the last meeting.
That you didn't resign.
No, about our conversation.
Did I ask you, do you
told
really
the
want to
public-
give up 20 years of service?
No,
Just
you told the
20 years
public
of
that I
service.
would never set foot in this fire station, I was done. That's what you told the public, it's on tape.
No.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That you were done. You already resigned. It's already done.
No, I told you that I would not be the fire chief, step foot back in this fire station as long as Mike Henry was on the board, but I was still willing.
But we still had a personal meeting, which of course you passed off that we didn't have it at all.
I did not say that. Now, I was gonna correct him on that.
So.
Jeff Stidham
But-
brought up that we had multiple conversations about it. We did not have one conversation about this fire.
Oh,
When I talked to you at the station, I
We
said,
did
no, we didn't have a
not talk
specific,
about the fire station.
we didn't have a
We were there
specific.
for 2 minutes when your sister showed up and said your mom needed help and we left. 2 minutes. And we did not talk about the fire station. We did not talk on the
and
phone.
then,
we did not
and then
talk
there's
in
one
person
other
about the fire
clarification I
station.
want to say. Well, one other clarification I want to say since Ed's here. Ed, how many people on this board right now have you asked to be on this board?
One, two, everybody except for Mike Henry.
Okay. So there you go. That was from the fire chief.
Yeah, I asked
At
him to be
that
on the
time.
board, but then you guys started going against me with everything. So,
So I wrote a little statement that I'm going to read here. So, that I'm going to read here since we're talking about old business. And my time as a board member is the last 5 years. I thought it was 7 years, but it's been the last 9 years. Jeff and I were both at the same. I believe our voting record speaks for itself, that is not only fiscally responsible for the taxpayers' funds, but supporting the volunteer fire departments with the new and updated equipment. In my time on the board, we have not only got the fire department out of debt, we also purchased newer fire engine, two new fire tankers, new brush trucks, and a new medical response truck that everybody can see outside. We also installed several new programs with Ed Kester's help from fire personnel recommendations to get the equipment on rotation to keep all equipment up to date and fire gear, such as boots, gloves, breathing apparatuses, tires, and several upgrades to fire trucks to better help firefighters in their firefighting duties. New life-saving equipment has been purchased also, new pneumatic tools, onboard generators, CPR machines, just to name a few. There's been several other ones too. That we have done all this by not going into debt and providing, and the chief and assistant chief to keep it is the job of the chief and the assistant chief to keep us informed of their needs and wants. When these things need to be upgraded or replaced, it's not our job to keep the inventory or anything else like that. It's the fire personnel that are supposed to bring this to us. And because that's not part of the board's responsibility to know when gear and everything else is coming out of date. So the board is here to support the firefighters and to the best of our ability. And we are here to manage the budget. I believe the board has done an excellent job over the last 9 years. That the Hoyt Fire Department is one of the best, in my opinion, best equipped rural fire department in Jackson County. If you don't believe that, I believe you can ask some of the volunteer fire departments and the board members. I believe the general public has been told a bunch of half-truths and some outright lies. These people have been spreading rumors and lies, should find better things to do with their time rather than attack a group of volunteers. Remember, we all volunteer our time here, just like these volunteer fire departments. They volunteer their time. We're not getting paid here. Nobody's getting paid here. So, who gives up their time and energy to help the community. Most of us of the board was asked to join the board by Ed Kester. I know myself, and I heard Jeff was, Julie Stidham was, and I'm not sure about Larry Valdez or Angie Brown. So we did this to help the fire department and to help the community, because according to Ed, nobody else would do it. And because I guess he asked several different people, because I know Jeff said it, and I said almost the exact same conversation, is that you do not want me on the board. because we are both fiscally responsible people, so, and I said, so I told Ed, if it's your last resort, put me on the board. He said, I'm your last resort. Nobody else wanted to do it. And so sitting around complaining about this, then when you don't know all the facts and the half-truths and rumors. So I've been on the board for years, and I haven't seen any of you at our monthly meeting until the last 3 months. Someone asked me to show up and started complaining. Do you know why he or she told you that? Are you doing something with somebody else's agenda? Why in the world as a board wants to shut down why in the world does a fire board want to shut down the fire department or call firefighters names? These people are the same people we depend on to help us as well as you. Now I hear there's a petition going around of course Mike Henry and now myself to resign from the fire board. Is this true? Is this true? I don't know. You know, there's a lot of rumors that fly around. And so it can't be anything that Mike and I have done, because all we have done is voted to improve the fire department and supply them with this, not only managing the money, but helping the fire chief to solutions. See, this is a group effort. This is not just a board, but not just the volunteer firefighters. This is both of us working together to have the best firehouse in Jackson County. Checks and balances are what I have tried to do since I've been on the board. If anybody can find something that I've done wrong, I'll gladly resign my volunteer fire position, and you can take my place.
I have one question. You made the comment in reading that you depend on the fire chief and the assistant chief to let the board know what they need, and yet you denied them the tires. Why?
What tires?
The tires that
on
had
that
to go
truck.
out on 75 highways. They said, the chief said they needed the tires. The vehicle needed the tires, and you all denied them. It's in your minutes that you denied his request.
I think it boils down to trust right now. We've lost the trust of the community and the firefighters, and we need to work to get that back. If you don't trust us, then we might as well not be here.
Just a comment, Dan, how is losing Ed Kester an improvement for the department? You said everything you've done has been an improvement.
The board.
How is that-
I was speaking of myself.
You didn't oppose it, so it has to be something you approved.
I did approve it. I did approve it because of my conversation with Ed Kester, he told me he resigned.
You didn't inform the public that. You said there was nothing that could be done.
And it wasn't up to you. I even asked this question. Has anybody called Ed and talked to him? That's not our job.
I had a personal conversation with him.
But then
And
you
now
said
he admits
there was
it.
nothing that
But
could
you
be
said
done.
nothing that could be done.
You said
And
you talked to him.
you even said it wasn't
And he
our
said,
job.
and what I can remember is that he told
Well,
me.
it's on tape. We read the last
Yeah,
meeting is
so
what you
there you
said,
go.
what I said, and everybody else said is on there.
Right.
That's on there. You said it.
That he told me he resigned. It's already done. So
That's not what he said.
that's what I recalled.
You didn't recall correctly.
Well, I mean, that, see there.
And you didn't inform us
Well,
correctly.
I told you exactly what I
So,
told you.
If you want to resign, I'm sure there's somebody here in this audience that would be glad to take your place.
Well, where were they 9 years ago? Where were they 4 years
I've
ago?
been on
They
the
weren't
board.
asked.
I've been on the board.
Ed Kester asked all of us. You just heard it.
The
now
other
you're
people that
reneging
are
on
You
here.
just Ed Kester asked all of us except for Mike Henry to be on the board.
I understand. No.
That's what you just said. You just said it.
You just said, where were we 9 years ago? Those people that
Well,
would
9 years ago,
volunteer.
7 years ago, 4 years ago.
We weren't asked.
So there you go.
See, that's another issue that we're gonna have here, is when their appointments come up for renewal, nothing's never mentioned to anybody, they just renew themselves and move on. I think there needs to be a little change in that as far as allowing knowledge that there's people coming up for renewal if anybody's interested in it.
And that can be put in the
Doing
open
it a
report.
little bit of different way than
Yes.
what's done.
Okay. And the only other aspect that I had is somebody was saying that the $4,000 was gonna given to another entity. So I brought my tax bill. I brought my tax bill, and it says right there, rural fire, district number 3. Number 3 is my taxes went down.
Yeah, it shows it on there, but it doesn't show it going to another entity. It went to another
When we
entity.
went up.
It's not even gonna be collected.
Not even gonna be collected.
It's not even gonna be collected.
Not for what you are.
That's what I said, John. You guys didn't lower it, you're not
Comments
gonna
are
accept the
over.
money.
That part's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
That's over.
That's
The
done.
budget is set.
I'm more concerned with the improprieties with the open meetings and open records and your lack of give a shit to read those and find out how to run a meeting. There are 15 reasons you can go into executive session. None of them are for non-personnel issues.
I read the Holton Recorder almost every day, every week that comes out, and I see them.
Non-elected personnel.
So I see that they go, a lot of people go into executive session, and we're not elected.
No. You can go into executive session for non-elected, or for non-elected personnel issues.
To discuss non-elected personnel.
But
Okay, so I didn't word it right,
you didn't word it anywhere near right.
so.
And you're the one that records the minutes.
So-
You did it wrong.
Okay,
You-
I'll try to do better.
You broke the law.
I'll try to do better.
You broke the law. It's that simple.
But hey, anybody else wants a secretary job, then you can follow the rules.
They're not just rules to
Rules.
follow.
I will gladly give up my secretary job.
Open Meetings Act, it's subject to
So-
fine and prosecution if somebody comes to do that.
Okay, let's move on.
Jeremy, do you have anything?
Any other old business? New business? That's all taken care of.
Yeah, well,
Go for it.
so the bantry, this bantry right there is the reason why we can never get anything done in our board meetings. Is because we can't get a goddamn word in edgewise for anything we say. Because you gotta have something to say about everything we say. Obviously, you have no faith in me as the fire chief. Because you went to talk about stuff with NFPA that I could have went right in there, pulled out the NFPA guideline book, threw it on the table, and said, here you go. Jeremy, you are correct. Obviously, you have no faith in me and what I
Quit
talk about.
interrupting
I
him.
have no, you are right there is what I'm talking about. You ain't let me finish talking.
No, I'm gonna agree with you.
Well, let him finish.
I'm gonna
That's
agree
the
with
same
you.
thing I watched with Ed for years and years and years. You can't even get a thing said because you can't get your comment made all the way before you butt in and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, whatever. I'm telling you, I feel no faith in the board behind me as the fire chief. I know exactly how Ed felt because I watched it as his assistant chief. For years of stuff going, whether it's needing stuff replaced. Ed, and I completely agree with his comment that at his last meeting when he said, I feel like I'm being punished when we were discussing the budget. Because he was extremely physically responsible and it pissed his firefighters off because we wanted stuff and it was, no, we just got to maintain our budget. And Ed was great at it. And I understand his frustration because I'm feeling the same thing now. You asked about the truck, fine, whatever, the truck's 25 years old, the truck's got a slew of issues we already had. We didn't know a damn thing about this money we were supposed to get until people from the community come up to us and started asking us about it because you guys hid it from us. You can say you did, you did. We went into executive session, kicked Ed and I out time and time again. We didn't know anything about it until somebody come up and said something to him and said something to me, and then Julie asked us about it. We're like, well, we don't know nothing about it. So with the amount of money they're talking, which I've heard anywhere from $260,000 to $340,000. We discussed the timeline for replacing 180. Well, with what you brought up tonight, I feel like that's not anything that's going to happen because I kind of figured, with that much of a donation, that somebody thought that much of us, that would be a great use for that money instead of wiping out our reserve that we worked hard to get by being fiscally responsible, that would be a great gift to somebody for an end of life. You know?
Right, isn't that, and so we've had.
But that has never been said to us.
Oh, okay.
That has never.
I thought it
been-
wasn't
That
it
was never
discussed
discussed.
on your
I
hierarchy?
haven't yet.
No, but on your hierarchy, didn't we discuss like you wanted a grass fire truck first? Right?
You guys brought the brush truck up when we bought the 2020 brush truck. For some reason, this one got brought up about replacing it because of its age. And that's just kind of been the role we've been going with. Yes, it needs replaced, and that's great that we are replacing it now. But in the back of my mind, from the roundabout talks we've had, I've been focused on replacing 180. 180 is going to be cost increasing every year to the point where it's not worth having. I mean, 25-year-old truck. Who here drives a vehicle that's 25 years old? If the measurable amount of money we get.
Can I ask you a question? Which one would you like to have replaced first?
Ultimately, I'd like to have the rescue replaced first. But we had already earmarked that for 2024 anyways to replace it.
Right. But this money that's coming in, depending on how much it is, which one would you like to have replaced first?
180 would be the soonest truck we get replaced first.
I don't think we got a problem with that, do we, as a board?
But by you going by and going to another fire chief and saying, do we really need to replace this truck if it's...
Well, no. I didn't ask that question.
But it's read between the lines. Well, it passed pump test, it passed DOT test, what am I supposed to think? Well, but it's not telling you the amount of electrical issues the truck has. The pump was overheated, whether it's gonna pass pump test this year or not.
No,
And
all
stuff
I
like
ask
that.
is what is the rule of thumb, and it's a recommendation, it's not a rule.
All NFPA
And
is
yes,
recommendation.
and I do
But you
apologize.
wanna put somebody's life on the line over a recommendation?
Are we gonna?
And I do
are we gonna
apologize.
ready to Same problem we did?
And I do apologize, because I should have came to you and asked you, just like Angie said and everything else like that. But I do believe when that conversation does come up and you know the answer, is that you should have answered that question in front of everybody.
Again, there was a lot going on.
But I do
because I don't
apologize.
even remember what the, I don't even
But I
remember
do
that part.
apologize for that. But I said, I don't think there's a problem if we do get this windfall, or when it does come, October, November, is that we can definitely, and if 180 is your responsibility, is what you believe needs to be replaced first, I don't think the board's gonna have a problem with that.
I'm hoping money comes in and we're able to
That's-
basically get both trucks.
Yeah, that's the conversation that we have a hard, and I'll speak for me, I won't speak for anybody else, but, I don't talk about it because, A, it's, for me, that estate is a private issue, and we don't spend money that we don't have yet. So once that money's here, then we can go in and say, okay, we're not gonna buy that in lieu of that. Those funds with what we have in the equipment reserve will be plenty to replace that truck. And that conversation will be had when that money's here. I just ain't gonna talk about money. You can read the paper, and if it's been in the paper, I don't read the paper that often. But until the board actually has a check in the bank, I don't think it's a good use of our time to talk about it. Once we get that money, then yeah, once it's in the bank. So, because there was a lot of conversation a year and a half ago trying to prioritize replacement, and that was the order that was established in those meetings a year and a half ago. Brush truck, and the reason the brush trucks were a priority because they were our heaviest used, and we were coming off of a drought spring where you guys were in Hutchison and everywhere else helping doing aid and all those things. So the brush trucks were a priority in our conversations at that time, not just the board, but you guys as well. So maintaining the fleet of brush trucks in 20 and 21 was a priority at that time. So, it sounds like the money is getting close, and when that money comes, then certainly we can, once it's in the bank, we can have those conversations. So,
What do you want to see out of your board, Joe, now since we're here?
You know, honestly, how I feel, and I felt this way before, and any of my people can correct me if I'm wrong, I really don't think anybody gives a shit about this place unless it's the first Wednesday of every month. Because I see Neil, I take that back. Don't let me, Neil,
No, you know what? I'll tell you what. I know I haven't been here much. I want to be here more. I apologize. My mother was going through. I was taking care of my mother completely. I didn't have the energy to get down here as much as I wanted.
but I run into you
But-
regularly and always have conversations with you regularly. I've never walked by and stuck my nose up at you and, you know,
No.
you always have something to say. You're always, you know, but everybody else, with the exception of Angie, because she comes in and hurts the shit out of me about stuff after calls, which rightfully she should. Angie's always been long here. From the day I started, it was that way. But the rest of everybody, I don't see anybody. You know, our fundraisers, how many people participate in our fundraisers? How many people come through here? You know,
I mean, I've
we-
helped
you know,
out and,
4th of July, we never, you guys need any help, you need this, you need that, you know, nobody cares. You guys, I get it, everybody's busy in their lives, but you know, so are we. But yet we dedicate countless hours to our community and the things we do. You know, we fundraise so we don't have to come to you guys to ask for stuff.
And I feel like, you know, these guys, the reason they have stuck it out this long is because they are dedicated to this community and to help our citizens. But at some point, you know, push comes to shove, you know, they're gonna say, wait a minute, you know, I don't have this, I don't feel like, maybe you do support them, but they don't have that feeling of that. And it's not tonight, it's like, when you see them out in the community, God, I really appreciate what you do. Is there something better that we can do for them? You know, instead of just tonight say, hey, it's every day.
You know,
They
show
are
up to our
important to us
trainings.
every day.
Written on the board when our stuff is. Show up and see what we do. You know, it takes a half hour of your life.
Julie's the only one that came to the auto
oh,
poll.
you did too, but that was a great
You
machine.
know,
It was
see what
worth
we
the
do.
money.
See what we're working with, see our troubles.
Yeah, it is
You
an
know?
awesome machine.
It's very awesome
I mean,
machine.
it's gonna save, if it only saves one life, it was worth it, but it's gonna save more.
I was
than that.
very
Plus, it's
impressed.
gonna save our firefighters.
Well, my thing is, I was very impressed with the guy that was the representative that he was talking about. You know, correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but nationwide, doing CPR on an individual is a 7% that they live.
Walking out of the hospital
That's a
neurologically intact, 7%.
7%. They were talking about, what was it, in Lawrence?
Douglas County right now, where current is 35%.
With that.
And
Was it Olathe?
Olathe is 54.
Well, one of them was 55. There was 3 places we rattled off, and one of them was at 55% of using this machine, that they saved lives.
But like Angie said, and I think we all said
Oh.
it, it saves one. I mean, it's expensive, but,
But it went
No,
from
but that's
7
what I'm just saying.
went from
It was
7
just awesome to see
35
that.
to whatever, so.
I mean, Angie's been, Angie's been preaching it for 3 months.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, like I said, it
and we
was pretty
understand.
awesome.
And I guess the other thing is that we were thinking about, you know, we probably would have approved that a lot sooner again, but we didn't know about the windfall that this fire department may be getting. So, now, could we have been a little more open for you? I kind of agree with Jeff. We didn't know if the money was coming or not.
Didn't make,
And I think we had that conversation.
it didn't make any difference to me. It's like they still, you know, shouldn't have been, you know. they shouldn't-
And, well, we just didn't want to get hopes up. I think that was one of the things.
Hey, get hopes up all the time. Thank you, Tanisha.
So, you know, it's like winning the lottery, 1.2 billion. What would you do with it? Okay.
Are you done, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Can I've been asked to ask a question, if I can, for somebody else, if I can take some time to ask a question. So, there's a person in the audience that would like to hear from each board member that would like to know why you chose to serve on the board. If you guys would like to answer that. That's
Sure,
like-
I'll answer. Somebody came to my door, he was the assistant chief. He goes, Larry, he said, I've asked quite a few people and nobody wants to be a board member. He said, how about helping us out? I said, what's it gonna deal with? He said, well, we have a meeting once a month to deal with the budget, decide what the fire department needs and don't need, and that's pretty much it. The biggest thing is that you show up. Well, I can show up, not a problem. You can't find anybody else, so that's why I'm here.
For the record, that was not me.
That was Roger Smith at the time.
Randy.
Excuse me. He was the assistant chief at that time. He came to my door and asked me. You know,
And what do you, and follow up with that, the question that they want to ask, what do you like about being on the board?
at the moment,
Yeah.
my wife would say, you need to quit. She's already told me that, you know. I don't spend enough time at home. So typically I show up when you guys have food, 'cause I enjoy food. But she's gone into a deal, unless it's a drive up, you guys have a drive up, she's not coming, so I can't come. Sorry. But otherwise, you know, I enjoy being up here, trying to help out as much as I can. I've told Jeremy dozens of times, hey, if you need help, let me know. You know, I do a little of everything, you know, from electrical work to building stuff, because he said he needed the pump house. Told him, just give me a holler, you know. And that's all he has to do, give me a holler. I may have to sneak away from the house, because my wife doesn't want me away from there, but, you know, I'll find time, you know. And I've helped people in this community all the time. Somebody needs something, you know, the city clerks call me, Larry, such and such needs help. Okay, I'll sneak away, go over there and help them, and then get back to my house. You know, so I try to help in my own personal way, always have, you know. Do I want to be a firefighter? Hell no. You know, I spent 40 years at what I did, enjoyed it, you know, and I just hope everybody that's with the fire department stays safe. That's the best I can do for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Mine,
Don't
Neil?
say Ed.
I was approached by Jerry Harder.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the battle Jerry had the last few years of his life. So I guess it was 2019, 18, somewhere in there. He came to me and asked me if I wanted to be on the fire board. Asked the same thing, what involved. They were actually looking to train me to do the books. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. I've kept the books for my church. I've kept the books for several different things. I was like, yeah, you know what, I can do that. And I saw it as an opportunity to get back involved with the Hoyt Fire Department, because I was on the fire department several years ago. I'm not gonna say how many years ago, because I'm feeling old already. But at that time, I did leave. When I left, it was not out of animosity. I know there's been animosity, not just now, but in the past. So I just want to make it clear, I never left as a volunteer firefighter out of animosity. It was because of a call I went on, I couldn't deal with it. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's why I left. It was not due to any animosity. But when I was approached by it and was like, yeah, I can do the books, I can keep track of numbers. I don't mind, I like keeping track of numbers. And I saw it as a way for me to get back and help the fire department grow and stay. And like he mentioned, I think this is the best fire department, best equipped fire department. The fire department has the best reputation, even when I was on, and I just think it's grown, and that is why I came on, to help keep the books and help keep that tradition of the name of this fire department growing. And as far as not being here as much, because I feel like I haven't been here as much as I could be, but again, I don't want to give excuses, but I will say I've been dealing with my mother over the last year or 2 years of her decline in health, which kept me from doing more. Maybe that's my fault. I should have found ways to do more. I apologize. But I do plan on helping do more now that she's passed. But
So was Jerry Harder the only person that talked to you?
Mike talked to me as well. but Jerry was the first one that approached me about it. I
Anybody
can't
else?
think of anybody else that actually talked to me about it.
And you already know about Jeff and I. Ed's the one who recruited us.
Well, for myself, Ed was my veterinary when I had cattle, and he had asked me a few times, but Mike Schultz, I went to church with him, and he come up to me, and this conversation went back and forth for 6 months with Mike. And I said, Mike, I want you to understand, I'm a fiscally conservative person. And I said, any dollar I can save, I'm going to save. And I said, if that's not what you want, the conversations with Ed Warren was more of a, hey, would you be interested? But with Mike was more of a sit down, heart to heart. And I said, I'd be happy to serve. I serve on several church boards and committees. As far as volunteering my time at the station, I'll just be blatantly honest. I won't say didn't realize it was a requirement or a want of a board member. The majority of my volunteer time is spent through my church, service through my church. So as far as my community service, between that and organizations that I serve, the rescue mission and different things like that, is where I spend the majority of my volunteer time when I'm not doing work and kids. So I would certainly make a larger effort to be here. I have less kids than I used to have, and I'm not going to use kids as a crutch.
At home.
Yeah, I'm not going to use kids as a crutch because I drove by here the other night at 9:15. I think it was the evening you guys were doing the training. I was coming home from the field, and I seen little kids out here riding the bikes, and so to me that shows that you guys give up your evenings and bring your kids with you, and your family here is it's a bigger part of their family riding here. Now, I'll grant you, there's a couple of them kids that got dang close to that road and it was completely dark outside, so keep an eye on those guys. But you know, it was never brought to my attention. I guess I'm self-absorbed from the standpoint of that was what the expectations of a board member was. It certainly makes sense from that standpoint. But like I said, I allocate my volunteer time to do certain things. And for those of you that know me, my church is my first priority. So no offense to anybody here, but it's gonna take second place to that. And so, but I can certainly make a better effort to be more support role in the physical functions of pancake feeds, that type of thing. Well, I'm like Larry, that, you know, I show up and eat, show up and get my burn permit. I do that, but as far as the physical labor of it, I have not done that. So, but I do. When Ed asked me for over a year, and then when I started visiting with Mike, that's when I kind of decided, hey, I got off the school board, so that's when I went on this board, is when I quit the school, when I got off the school board. So that's my history. I enjoy it. I take a lot of pride. The biggest thing I take pride in is when we go to the Jackson County Fair, and I see all the other county fire departments, and by far and away, best represented, equipment in top shape, and I take a lot of pride in that. And so, not that I have anything to do with the way they keep the condition of the equipment, but I feel like I have had a role in maintaining that equipment. And so, and again, I take, and 90% of it is the work that Ed and Jeremy and Randy did too, but of getting everything set up the way it is to where we were able to accumulate funds in equipment reserve and work from ahead instead of work from behind. And so, yes, there was a lot of heated discussions, and probably a lot more, I'm sorry, should have been said over the years. But through those collaborated efforts, we've allowed $270,000 to accumulate, along with the equipment that you see parked around the building, and in my opinion, the nicest firehouse in Jackson County. And that goes for a fully funded fire department. So I'll set up with that, but I know it's getting late.
Thank you.
Well, I
guess I would have to start with Sharon. I walk into the bank and she's offering me a job, so now I'm getting a job at the bank and getting to learn. I'm getting to be a part of the community. I mean, for years, I know I was at home with the kids and I was more involved with the school, doing stuff with the school with the kids, but now that I'm where I'm at the position at the bank, and then, of course, Ed is my veterinarian, and so he's the one that did approach me about being on the board. At that time, I know, I think Neil and I kind of came on the board at the same time, and Jerry was at the point of getting ready to come off because of health issues, and I think they kind of decided that Neil and I kind of work together with the treasury part of this, so that we do have two people in positions on the treasury part. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, my biggest thing is, yes, getting to know everybody. I mean, it's, trust me, like I said, for the last 60 days, I have had a lot of people in and out of my office. Yes, at work, yes. And I'm glad. I'm glad I'm there, and I'm glad that I do have people that have the confidence in me to come in and sit down and have a conversation with me.
Does that include me?
You're part of it.
Mike, you want to share anything?
Yeah, Bob Bruner came and asked me to be on the board at the time. I had served on the fire department I don't remember when I started. It would have been in the in the 80s, late 80s somewhere, and then I stayed on until, I believe it was in 99, and I got off when we started the trash company in Topeka, and I got off at that point in time because I knew I wasn't going to have time. I was one of the owners. So I knew that I was not going to have time to get here to get any training or anything in. So I told John Bailey at the time that, you know, I wasn't comfortable working with, I didn't never like anybody coming in behind me with a hose that wasn't trained, and I felt the same way. I didn't want to follow somebody else in. So at the time I got off the fire department because I was going to try to keep my EMT up, but with a new startup company, it just was not possible. So I even let my EMT go when I was done. And I know it's worse now than when I was doing it, when I was trying to keep it up. And Bob came to me, I say somewhere in 2010 or 11, and wanted me to be on the board, wanted to know if I would take his place on the board. At that time, I had been at the school district for probably close to 10 years, well, yeah, over 10 years. And he just felt like I knew quite a bit about maintenance and stuff, and asked me if I could, you know, he thought it'd be good for me to be on there to kind of pay attention to some maintenance and stuff on, you know, and I ask questions about maintenance all the time, and it's what I've done for the last 30-some years. I've done all of our trash trucks. Before that, I was in a tire shop, and not long before that, I was a waste management for 7 years, and about the last 2 of those, I was involved in management and running the shop there at Waste Management. So you know, the mechanical side is more what I look at. As far as coming around, I'm as guilty, but I got, you know, in the same way. I got 5 grandkids, 2 in Kansas City, 2 in Lawrence, and I got one little guy that's out here by us. So when we get the chance to see him, one of them's playing baseball in Kansas City, so that's almost an every weekend occurrence. During the week, I've got at least two other commitments during the week at night, plus my church up in Ayala. That I do a lot of volunteer work and stuff for, along with doing the, I do work for the school. I'm there at 6 in the morning, and some days it's after 6 before I leave, some days it's before that, but bus shortage of drivers and stuff. When I get done with having 60 kids yelling behind my head and everything, I just want to go home and relax, which I don't usually get to do because I do a big garden and I do a lot of stuff at home, so kind of my gist.
Thank you. I think that answered the question that they had. So, thank you guys for sharing.
I have one suggestion. Having heard all of you and how you got to be on the board, it seems to me that the fire chief is the one important person that has to work with this board. And I think it should be up to the fire chief to talk to someone before they come on the board. Anybody that is interested in being on the board should go talk to the fire chief. Let the fire chief know. Let the fire chief be more, because he's the one that's got to work with you all.
And he basically did.
And what?
The majority of the board on here
I
sitting
know,
right there,
but
the
there
fire
were-
chief did.
But there were a couple of instances that didn't happen. And I just think it's very important that the fire chief be the person that,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of us, 5 of us minimum.
So you're thinking like a screening process type thing?
I just think that the fire chief needs to be the person that people go to and let them know that they want to be on the board, because he's the one that has to work with you.
And I don't know, is that the proper channels that stuff is supposed to go, is through the chief as far as finding somebody to be on the board?
That's the way it always used to be.
I was asked by the chief.
And then, you know,
Larry was assistant chief, right? You were asked by the chief,
yeah.
I was asked by Bob Bruno,
And-
he was a board member at the time.
and you were asked by the chief. I was asked by the chief. Jeff, you were asked by the chief?
I just think it's very important that the chief be the person that does the asking. I mean, you can have somebody say, would you be interested? But that person needs to let the chief know and let the chief go talk to them.
Okay, what's next, Mike?
I think I got some new business.
I didn't show anything on anybody's.
I don't show anything. Next board meeting, be November the 1st. Unless
Is that gonna be a problem for you?
November 1st?
For the numbers?
I'll make it work. Booster meeting after prom meeting. So it's on the school calendar that I got.
But you can have the reports and stuff done on the first day of the month?
It'll be rough, but I'll get it
I'll
done.
be complete. Posted up. Okay, November 1st, 7 o'clock. I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I will second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?